Previously on the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
So Chris, for June, we're going to be visiting the American Southwest and maybe travel down Route 66 in the late 1950s at the dawn of the space age.
Ooh.
We're going to be reading The Virgin New Adventure, First Frontier by David A. McIntee.
Yes! Okay. Oh. Ooh, okay, cool. This is one of these books that I gave up on halfway through. But sometimes when I've done that and I then go back and read it and I go, oh, what were you thinking?
And now our story continues.
Welcome, everyone, to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London.
So since we've last recorded, we've had quite a bit of Doctor Who news revealed.
We have.
Including the announcement of Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor.
Which I'm very excited about, and my other half is even more excited about, and has made it known that she will probably start watching Doctor Who again. Because she loves Ncuti in Sex Education.
Yeah, I cancelled Netflix a few months back, but I've seen a few clips of his performance in that, and he was fantastic. And I think Yasmin Finney has been announced as Rose.
Yes.
And we also have the announcement of David Tennant and Catherine Tate returning, which leads me to wonder if Yasmin Finney as Rose might potentially be the daughter of Donna and Sean.
Yeah, there seemed to be a theory that might be what's happening. But it's funny that Yasmin Finney was announced, because last month I very nearly picked as my show and tell Heartstopper, because it's all directed by Euros Lyn.
Also a Netflix show.
Yeah, also a Netflix show, but that was a Doctor Who connection. And also, it's brilliant and well worth your time. We don't tend to binge unless something has been taken off a subscription channel, but we binged that because we just loved it. It's beautiful. She's great in it, and as is the rest of the cast. To be honest, if I was going to choose one of those people to be in Doctor Who, with absolutely no slight on Yasmin, there was somebody else who I thought I might possibly cast in 3 or 4 years as the Doctor. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if we go back to the Heartstopper cast pool for more Doctor Who cast members. Yeah, it's very intriguing, and I'm excited. And I will be honest, I haven't been excited about the show for a while. But just speaking personally, that's absolutely no slight on Jodie, but it's more a reflection of, I haven't really got on with the writing. Yeah, I'm just really excited. Really excited. Yeah, and Ncuti just seems fantastic.
And I'm not sure if he's been officially referred to as the 14th Doctor in any press materials or anything, because everything I've seen him in has referenced him as the new Doctor. So I wonder if they're going to... Something's up with the numbering, or if they're going to abandon the numbering, or...
Yeah, I wonder whether they might abandon the numbering, possibly. But thinking about it, you don't often see references to the number of the Doctor in press material. Because often they will say, so-and-so will play the next Doctor Who. Or at least in reports rather than BBC material. But I think it's the fact that we're seeing Tennant does make me kind of think whether we're going to have a kind of, some kind of like degeneration or something. Because I think there will be a lot going on for them to also be having Ncuti wandering around.
Yeah.
And Ncuti is also filming the Barbie movie.
So he might be preoccupied.
Yes, but they possibly announced him to make it clear that David Tennant isn't there on a permanent basis.
Right. Yeah, I think the order was very intentional. And I guess for me, my excitement for Doctor Who has stayed the same throughout the Jodie era, so it hasn't necessarily dropped off or anything. But one thing I am very much looking forward to is having a showrunner back who is also a bit of a showman. When I think about how Russell T Davies introduced Ncuti on the red carpet interview at the BAFTAs, and I'm echoing Toby Haydock here, but he makes a wonderful point that, RTD is an exceptional storyteller. And in a few sentences, he's able to tell Ncuti's audition story, make you invested in the outcome. There's empathy, compassion, a dash of mystery thrown in about how he was the last person to audition and got the role from someone else. And I'm always going to be constantly wondering who that other choice was. I'm hoping it was either Tanaya Miller or Lydia West.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely not Lydia West, going from her announcements. Word on the street, and I don't have this from any particular source or anything, it's just stuff I've read, is Toby Stephens.
Okay. Not familiar with him as an actor.
He is the son of Maggie Smith.
Oh, okay.
So he would have been an older choice.
Oh.
But also, I don't know how true that is. It's something that I have read on Tinterweb. So, yeah. My BBC sources are in the news department. And so...
It's kind of like the story that Moffat tells, when they had their heart set on an older actor, perhaps even Capaldi himself, to succeed David Tennant. But, Matt came in and stole the part. So
yes.
Maybe Capaldi was waiting in the wings all those years. Who knows? But I think fantastic news for the show, and really reinvigorated a lot of people in terms of interest, yourself included. So that's fantastic. A couple of other pieces of news that have come out recently. We have the return of Kate Orman. She's going to be writing The Dead Star, which is read by Michael Troughton, and it features the second Doctor, Ben and Polly, and so this is coming from Big Finish, and it will be their fourth novel in their audio novel range, following Scourge of the Cybermen, Watchers, and Emancipation of the Daleks, which I think you had mentioned last time. So I'm super excited that she's back. I think it's been quite a while since she's written anything for Doctor Who.
Yeah, I would say probably the best part of 20 years. I can't think of anything unless she's done like a short trips thing when it was with Big Finish.
Or something small like that.
Or she's done any Big Finish plays, but it would be the best part of, I think.
And one of our listeners, Will Hadcroft, has written an audiobook for BBC Audio.
Oh.
It's called The Resurrection Plant, and it features the second Doctor, Jamie and Zoe, and is read by Fraser Hines. And that is due out on August 4th.
Oh, cool.
Congratulations, Will, on getting an official Doctor Who story published.
Yes. Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's brilliant stuff. That's so good. Cool.
So, Chris, I think this brings us to show and tell.
Yes.
And you get to go first this month.
Okay, that's good, because I went to Time Fracture.
Oh, I am so jealous.
Yeah, I went to Time Fracture the weekend it was announced that it's kind of closing pretty soon. Yeah, I enjoyed it, and Lauren came along with me, who, she enjoyed it as well. I suspect not as much. There were a few points when she sort of said, "What is going on?" And I was like, I'm not terribly sure. Which I think might be one of my criticisms, is that halfway through, you're kind of going, what is happening? And also as you're hearing things that other people have got up to. Sorry, I'm not explaining this in a good way, but then again, it's all very timey-wimey anyway. So if I start from the beginning, we were met by Harry Sullivan III.
Ooh.
As we were sort of taken through units, because you start off in unit, there's a whole host of lab technicians with names like Yates and other nods to the past. There was one called Leeson, and then we had to deal with briefing the Prime Minister about some kind of like time weirdness. I'll go into more spoilers than I would have been if it hadn't been about to close.
By the time this episode goes out, I think it will be
closed. Yeah. So because like we were told by the 13th Doctor herself to keep the secret, but I go like, I think now I can go slightly spoilery. So we were briefing the Prime Minister, and Harry Sullivan III turns around to us and says, "Has anybody else got any words for the Prime Minister?" And a 9-year-old who was standing next to me shouted, "Resign."
Surprised you didn't shout, "Don't you think he looks tired?"
Yes, I think he does. Yeah, and also as well, Harry Sullivan apologised for the pandemic. So I was like, yeah, that was us. Sorry about that. And then Daleks attacked. So actually so a Dalek into this big kind of like unit control room that we were in, and that was pretty cool. Just seeing a Dalek moving right in front of you. And we then went off through kind of like a time portal thing. And if you went through one time portal, you ended up with the Sisterhood of Khan and Kablam and various things. We didn't go through that portal. We ended up in kind of like Elizabethan England. We were taken by a time agent to crawl through a chimney. And we found ourselves in Leonardo da Vinci's study, where he was making various copies of the Mona Lisa, and with the sign, "This is a fake." And like he had an eye patch on his eye, and there was also as well on the wall markings, numbered markings, which was very reminiscent of the Silence. And some other people were taken into our room briefly to have a conversation with Leonardo da Vinci. But after they'd gone, we were going, "Oh, do we go?" And also I thought, because all of the actors, they're chatting with you, and some of them are fantastic improvisers. Like Harry Sullivan at one point was trying to give us a briefing on Cybermen, and he pointed at me and sort of said, "Do you know where Cybermen are from?" And I said, "Mondas." And he said, and I thought, "Oh, what do I say? Do I say Marinus?"
Tell us.
Well, I said, "Tell us," and he sort of looked at me and went, "Oh, you do know your stuff." So Leonardo da Vinci is there. He's wearing an eye patch, and I am conscious as well. I am a person standing next to another person who's wearing an eye patch. I don't know if this is a plot thing or whether this is something that this person has in real life. Afterwards, I was doing a bit of looking into it. I realised it was a plot thing. Because apparently he uses it because like there's a silent that keeps an eye on him. So he uses the eye patch in some shape or form. But also, like after when we were left on our own with Leonardo da Vinci, kind of like the conversation started petering out a bit. So we went, "Okay, right, we'll go back out by the chimney. Nice to meet you. Bye." I don't know what we were supposed to do.
I had heard, like, in terms of how it's structured, it's kind of in 3 acts, and like
yes,
the first act is the most interactive, and then it gets progressively more story driven as it goes along.
Yes, yeah,
and kind of the threads come together.
Yeah, but anyway, we went off for a wander, and Lauren married Queen Elizabeth. Lauren was wearing a skull dress, being the good goth girl that she is, and so she was chosen to be one of 3 suitors because like she looked like she was a bit killy, the skulls. and like everybody else voted for Lauren to be Elizabeth's bride. And Queen Elizabeth, who was fantastic, brilliant improviser, said to Lauren, "Have you brought any servants?" And Lauren was kind of a bit, oh, am I with anybody? And she pointed to me, and Queen Elizabeth said, "Manservant, you shall come." So yeah, it was great.
And did you get to see Brian the Ood?
We did get to see Brian the Ood. So Brian the Ood appears because the intermission is in a bar on a spaceship where there's a Silurian singing Titanium and various other things. And I was just thinking, why in the future are we singing songs from the Wanties and Naughties? Because like there were other songs you did, but and Lauren at one point said, "Look, no offence, but her singing is wasted on this show." Because like the bar is certainly a bit where it was all a bit like what is happening, because every now and again someone kind of runs over and sort of says, "Oh, wasn't it great that we saw so and so," and just explains the bits of the plot. So I'm like, yeah, what? And also somebody said, "Oh, some of you might have met Davros." Went, what? No, I was busy dealing with Leonardo da Vinci and somebody else marrying my wife. I was not seeing Davros. Could I be in the Davros queue?
Makes me really hope that at some point, like a script will be published, of all the, and I know so much of it is improvisation, but at least some sort of, maybe like the novelization of Time Fracture or something,
Yeah. Though I'm not sure how much sense it would make. But though I drank a sonic screwdriver because the bar was serving cocktails.
How was that?
Strawberry. It was a non-alcoholic drink, and it was a pleasant cocktail. It had an umbrella. It was kind of all the things that you would expect from a cocktail. Yeah, it was quite nice.
Did you see any of the inserts that the Fugitive Doctor had shot for Time Fracture?
Yes, yeah. So it all wraps up in Gallifrey in the Panopticon, and we were being briefed by someone who I then realised was Romana, a kind of like a Scottish Romana, who was very reminiscent of Nicola Sturgeon, which is a reference that possibly non-British people might not get. Someone who would play Nicola Sturgeon in a movie. She is the current First Minister of Scotland. And there were some other characters whose names were, I think, entirely original to the play. And Lauren said, well, should we move and have a chat with someone? And I said, no, I'm hanging for Romana. The other Time Lords I probably won't trust. Romana, I suspect, might be on the side of angels. And then the other Time Lords, like there was one from the House of Omega, as she was pronouncing it. And I was like, yeah, we're not going with that person. That person's evil. And they started summoning or resurrecting Rassilon. And Lauren was chosen from the audience to go and do something. And she went, no, I've done enough interacting with this. And she pushed me out. So I went into a kind of like a little chamber where I was being asked if I'd ever heard of the Doctor before. And like some of the people we were with, some of them, I mean, I would say all of them were fans, but like some of them were very knowledgeable and very giddy and excited, and some were being a lot more interactive than others, which is sweet. I mean, it was fun to see. It also just made me think about how diverse the fandom has become. Certainly, like if I remember going to a Doctor Who exhibition in 1992, and there were hardly any women, and here it was just lovely. But yeah, I went in for the ceremony of resurrecting Rassilon. I came in bearing the coronet of Rassilon on a cushion, which was kind of cool. And that was kind of full on because like Rassilon was rising from her tomb right in front of me. And I was just like, oh, okay. And like the coronet was taken, and then I had the cushion in my hand. What do I do with this?
The cushion of Rassilon.
The cushion of Rassilon, yes. And then like the Doctor goes and does something that I'm not entirely sure what it was, but I was still kind of like, wow, I was holding the coronet Rassilon. I was still distracted by that. And then you hear voices of all of the Doctors. You have footage of Jodie and also as well sort of our modern day first Doctor, David, and I'm blanking on his surname, Warner?
Oh, David Bradley.
Bradley. Yes. Warner's an Unbound Doctor, isn't he? Yeah, you could hear that some of the audio bits were by the original Doctors. Certainly Tom Baker, Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy. They used, what's his name? Is it Jacob Dudman? The guy who does the voices for...
Big Finish, yeah.
Sometimes for Big Finish, yeah. And I only realised it was him and not David Tennant later, because it sure sounded like Tennant to me. And I thought, and it sounded like Matt Smith to me. My resident Matt Smith expert sort of said that she thought that it was an impersonator. But it was fantastic, as the Ninth Doctor himself would say. Yeah, overall, I am very glad I went. There was a tweet I saw yesterday by the actor who plays Queen Elizabeth, and she said, "Don't be sad that it closed, just be glad that it happened." And that's kind of how I feel about it. I very much enjoyed it. I have the opportunity to go to it again now for the next week or so. I don't know if I necessarily will, because I don't know whether I need to go and experience the Sisterhood of Khan or anything. Certainly not on my own. I might, if I know of someone else that's going and someone I know is considering possibly going, then I might. But also one of the things I was really struck by as well as the improvisational, was how adaptive they were to people's needs. So there was a member of the audience in our kind of like group who wasn't able to kind of like walk so much and stand, and they were coming over and they were just explaining like, okay, we'll make sure you've got a seat here, and they were just coming over, just making sure they were fantastic, which is what you'd expect from professional production, but it was just lovely. Yeah, it did just feel like a warm hug. And also a shot in the arm to Doctor Who, and I just felt so sad for them that as a production that they've gone to all this trouble and everything, and because it was supposed to start in 2020, and they've had COVID, they've had floods, which meant that they were out of action for like 2 to 3 months. And certainly the reason why we waited so long was because of the pandemic. Lauren was very concerned about catching COVID, and then she caught COVID. And so I got like, yeah, okay, fine, let's go and do this. So, sorry, I'm conscious I've talked a lot, but yeah.
Well, it sounds fantastic. I'm so glad you got to experience it.
Yeah, as you say, I hope that the script goes out just so that people can find out more about the dialogue and everything, and also so that people that went to it can find out what was going on. The TARDIS wiki entry about it is hilarious, because it sort of says, look, it changes every time, so this is the general sense. But also the TARDIS wiki is a bit of a, this is what you could have had.
It almost sounds like a choose your own adventure, where it's...
It is, yeah. Though to an extent your adventure is chosen for you, because I'll say, like, we were taken to go through that fireplace. And I do feel bad about Leonardo da Vinci, but also he ought to have done something to make us stay. Because I was also just very conscious I am with someone that has an impairment and I don't want to ask about it. Because he's got an eye patch over his eye. So it's me, my manners, I guess. But also, if we had stayed, Lauren wouldn't have married Queen Elizabeth.
Well, if they ever remount the production in the U.S. or something, I will definitely try and check it out.
Yes,
but something tells me it's it was a one-off kind of.
Yeah, I think so. But yes, well, wait until the big finish production.
That would be great. Skip to track 4 if you want to go down the tunnel, or skip to track 7 if you want to meet up with the sisterhood.
Yeah, there was a lab technician called Shaw who I suspect, if you'd spent time with her, you've been told that she was the granddaughter of Liz. She looks like it. So I don't know whether Liz Shaw has... I know Liz Shaw has a daughter. I don't know whether Liz Shaw has a granddaughter who is an actor. But certainly, I would believe it. Anyway, cool. Right. That's enough about me prattling. What about your show and tell?
So I don't think my show and tell can live up to quite to that, but
sorry.
Have a relatively new podcast to talk about. So this is produced by Kenny Smith, and it's called Pieces of 8. And it's quite good. It features Rebecca Chapman and Kenny Smith discussing all things Eighth Doctor. And even though the podcast has only been going a year, they have a lot of output. They've done 3 seasons worth of shows, and each season is 13 or 14 episodes, and they have some great interviews, including with Matthew Jacobs, the writer of the TV movie, and Phil Siegel, the producer of the TV movie. And each episode focuses on different things related to the Eighth Doctor. There's an entire episode discussing the TV movie soundtrack. Some episodes cover specific novels or audios or comics. Sometimes it's other kinds of merchandise like action figures. It's just really quite varied in terms of subject matter, and it all relates back to the Eighth Doctor in some way. So quite fun and recommended if you're looking for, more Doctor Who podcasts and content out there, especially focused on the Eighth Doctor.
I haven't heard any of those episodes, but I did hear Matthew Jacobs' interview on Radio Free Skaro the other week, which was very interesting because he's promoting a documentary that's only recently started appearing at science fiction film festivals. And they're looking for a distributor. Yeah, he seems to be an interesting chap. And also, as well, I just bless him, he felt as if Doctor Who fandom didn't want to hear from him because of the reaction to the TV movie. And that's a shame.
It's also a difficult position to be in when you're trying to satisfy 3 different studios and all sorts of different requirements. And he did the best with what he was given.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that Robert Holmes could have done anything amazing out of that. So, yeah, he was on to a bit of a loser, I think, from the off. But he tried. Yes.
So, Chris, we have a book to discuss this month.
We do, finally.
First Frontier.
Yes.
By David A. McIntee.
Yes.
So this adventure comes just about halfway through the range, so it's the 30th of 61 new adventures, and it was published in September of 1994. And it features a wonderful cover illustration by Tony Massaro, which features Ace in her Dalek Wars combat suit, and you can also see Clara's TARDIS parked in the background. Disguised as a diner.
Yeah.
So first I should ask, were you able to finish the book this time?
Yes. This time I did finish the book. Because first time I tried reading First Frontier, I stopped about 30% of the way through.
And the author blurb on the back of the book says that David is the author of White Darkness, and at the time he lived in Stirling with a dog who thinks she's a cat, and a cat who thinks she's a dog. Yeah. And we've read one of his novels previously, The Face of the Enemy.
Yes.
The original book club covered Dark Path, which is also by him. And some of the more recent Doctor Who-related things he's done over the past decade include contributing a story to an Iris Wildtime anthology, Wildtime in Purple, in 2011 for Obverse Books. And he wrote The Schizoid Earth, which is the second novel in the Lethbridge Stewart series, published by Candy Jar back in 2015. And the book has a prologue and 23 untitled chapters, and the prologue is about a failed and covered-up version of the Sputnik 1 satellite launch, and then there's a jump forward about 5 months to October of 1957, where the rest of the book plays out. Mm-hmm. The book also has some author notes, and there's a prelude that was published in Doctor Who magazine number 216, which features the second Doctor and Jamie saving a co-pilot from a crashed ship in the Korean War. But Zoe's not around because she stayed behind in the TARDIS. So that was quite exciting. And then the book begins with a quote from The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Mm-hmm. So shall I kick us off?
Yeah, let's jump right in.
Yeah, so we're in October 1957, and the Doctor, Ace and Benny are visiting New Mexico to observe the launch of an Atlas missile from the White Sands missile proving ground, which are a real thing. And this is one of the first steps on humanity's journey to the stars. Whilst they're there, they see two flying saucers shoot the missile down. So the Doctor takes Ace and Benny into town to speak to locals, and they learn that a number of flying saucers have recently been spotted in the area. There's various different opinions as to whether these are military test flights or Soviet spy planes or possibly aliens from another world. And the discs are buzzing the White Sands area again, trying to provoke a military response so that the aliens can analyse a human's ability to navigate and fight in three-dimensional airspace.
Ace, she's several months away from her 27th birthday, so I'm assuming that it includes the 3 years, she spent in the Dalek Wars.
We encounter a Colonel Jack Finney, who orders an experimental new radar array into operation so that his fighters can track the saucers through the darkness.
And this is the character we met in the prelude that the second Doctor had saved. He has kind of like an old war injury in his thigh.
There's a Major Kriya from AFOSI. Is that a thing, AFOSI?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm imagining it stands for Air Force Operations Special Investigators.
Yeah, Signals Intelligence. Yeah. So Major Kriya is a kind of like agent type person. He learns what Finney's done, but it's too late for Kriya to intervene. The pulsars from the array interfere with the disk's gravimetric drives. One of the saucers crashes into the desert, killing everyone on board. And Kriya orders Finney to send all the wreckage to Corman Air Force Base for the Moondust project. And then Kriya seems to do something bad to the array. He kind of like leaves a trip circuit in it so that he'll be able to reactivate it should the need arise.
Yeah. And the prologue at the beginning of the book was pretty shocking, and it felt like something out of like From Russia with Love, where we see the capture and deaths of the Seventh Doctor and Ace. And it seems to be like a training program, because Ace seemed more like her teenage self, wearing her jacket and badges, and the Doctor was in his season 26 brown coat and not his white linen suit, which was introduced in McIntee's previous novel, White Darkness. And sure enough, when we meet the real Doctor later, he is in his linen suit. And the antagonists who are like killing these, I don't know if they're clones or unfortunate actors who have been dressed up like the Seventh Doctor and Ace, but the antagonists there don't seem to have any knowledge that Benny has also joined the TARDIS team. So it very much feels like it's based on kind of old intel.
And the person that was acting as Ace has like blonde hair, because when she's killed, her wig falls off, revealing the blonde hair underneath, and you just go like, ah.
And the Doctor, Ace, and Benny visiting the White Sands Proving Grounds, I think Ace and Benny kind of say like, well, why can't we go visit Sputnik and their launch? And the Doctor's like, well, I'm already there at least twice, so that's not going to...
Yes, that's true.
Not going to be an option. So the next day, well, they're on their way to take Benny to an old Pueblo archaeology dig site. The Doctor spots a number of unconscious bodies at a nearby farm. And the Dr. Benny and Ace determined that the family was captured by aliens who took genetic samples from them and erased their memories. So think very like, Area 51 or X-Files sort of vibe there. And I have to say, I loved the banter with the TARDIS crew as they were approaching the Air Force base. There's all sorts of little details like Benny marveling in the smell of old leather car seats sitting in the sun and how she's never experienced that before, and how they take up residence in like an old abandoned motel that the Doctor rented out, which made me think of the film Bad Times at the El Royale, because the hotel kind of had a layout like that. And kind of created an interesting paradox because the Doctor says, yeah, at the end of our adventure, I'll just rent this out for us. So the Doctor and Benny and Ace then spot a smoke column rising nearby where they discover the wreckage of one of the downed UFOs. But before they can investigate further, they're arrested and taken to White Sands for questioning. But the Doctor gets to a phone and contacts the head of the CIA, Alan Dulles, who owes the Doctor a favor.
And he's a real person, is Alan Dulles.
And because instead of psychic paper, which wasn't introduced until the new series, we learned that the Doctor helped out Alan Dulles at one point. And did you catch the reference there to Santa Mira? So that he said, like, he helped him out last year, so 1956, during some problems that town was having.
Right, okay.
And that's the fictional Californian town featured in the 1956 film Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Ah.
So there's kind of a
okay.
reference to that, where you have pod people duplicating and replacing the town's residents and stuff. So the Doctor was apparently there.
Yes, well, and that's not a storyline that Doctor Who has nicked at all over the years.
Yeah. And then, so the Doctor is able to kind of show his credentials there, and he's got free reign of the place now. And Finney's ordered to give the Doctor all the help he needs to investigate matters. And as Finney's filling in the Doctor about the kind of the backstory about what's been happening, Ace notices a group of suspiciously blonde, purple-eyed soldiers stealing 2 nuclear warheads from the base. So, good thing that she's paying attention. No one else is.
Yeah.
And so she gives chase but is unable to stop them, and it appears that Earth is being invaded. But there's the outstanding question of why would the aliens wish to steal human nuclear weapons when they no doubt have superior technology of their own.
Yeah. So Captain Stoker takes these stolen warheads to Corman Air Force Base, where he and Major Krier are working on the top-secret Snowbird project under the paranoid, authoritative General Nyby. Mm-hmm. And Nyby's greatest fear is that the communists are conspiring to overthrow his country, and so he'll do whatever it takes to ensure American supremacy and make America great again. Stoker, meanwhile, finds himself experiencing inappropriate and irrational emotional surges, which appear to be explained when Krier, who's kind of wanting to, wanting to spread a little bit of dissent amongst his allies, he gives Stoker a photograph which proves that he was on Earth over 6 months ago, which comes as a bit of a surprise to Stoker, who was under the impression that Krier had only arrived on the planet recently. But when he thinks about it, he realises his earliest memories are nothing but a blur. And meanwhile, Krier himself struggles to resist a continuing genetic change in his own body and waits for his allies to give him the cure they had promised. We will, as this goes on, go into spoilery stuff.
So then the Doctor, Ace, and Benny return to the crash site where they meet the White Sands PR officer, Major Marion Davison. And the Doctor identifies the UFO as a Tizun skiff belonging to the highly skilled warrior race, which will be wiped out by the Veltocini in the year 2170, when a contact team accidentally incinerates the Veltocini's traditional incubation grounds. And according to official history, the Tizun never made it out this far. Something must have, called them away from their home sector in order for them to have come to Earth. So there's an allusion there to that first Sputnik launch and something going wrong.
Also, the Veltrocini appear in quite a bit of McIntee stuff. They're in White Darkness, and I think they are main players in The Dark Path.
Yeah, they're in The Dark Path and Mission Impractical as well. And I think a single Tizun appears in Return of the Living Dad and some of the other ones as well. But yeah. So then Ace sees Stoker arranging for the removal of the disc from the crash site and recognizes him as the man who led the raid on White Sands. And the doctor sees that Stoker is supervising the separation of the discs into separate sections for transport, which should be beyond the grasp of contemporary human science. And the doctor also wonders why Stoker's superior, Major Creer, is not present at the recovery of a genuine alien artifact, and decides to investigate further.
Major Marion Davison, she smuggles the Doctor, Ace and Benny aboard the transport that's taking the crashed ship to Corman. And on the way, the Doctor explains that the Zun are genetic warriors. They conquer other worlds in order to transform their inhabitants into Zun hybrids, thus adding the new race's unique abilities and skills to their own genome. I thought this was quite clever. I quite like this as an idea. I don't think it's necessarily like super original, but I enjoyed it. And the transport reaches Corman Air Force Base, but as the Doctor emerges from hiding, Stoker spots him and recognises him, although the Doctor has never encountered a Zun in this incarnation before. The Doctor and his friends escape from their pursuers and shelter in Nybe's office, where the Doctor finds evidence that Nybe is working with a Zun. However, he also finds evidence that there is another, unrelated alien presence at work on the base.
And we also get mention of the Sidhi, which is a alien race from Cat's Cradle and Autumn Mist, which are native to Earth. And the Doctor makes reference to their alternate reality plane, which gets explored more in The Shining Man and Torchwood's Small Worlds, which we've read The Shining Man. Mm-hmm. But with the Tizun, there's 3 different types in total. So there's the original, which are called pure-blooded Tizun. There's the version of that are engineered for space travel, which are very short and gray and have large black eyes, similar to the grays you'd see in Close Encounters of the Third Kind or X-Files and stuff. Yeah. And then they have a third type, which is planet-specific hybrids, which here are purple eyes and that platinum blonde hair. And I think there's reference too around this point that there's a disinformation campaign going on with the Greys in terms of acclimating the population to the idea of aliens and how that might make future conquest easier. So there's a lot of different things going on at once. And then the records in Nybe's office indicate that the Tizun intend to attack the Elephant Butte power station and that the warheads stolen from White Sands have been shipped to Washington, D.C.
So Elephant Butte is a real place. And I kept on, because Butte is spelled B-U-T-T-E, and I kept on reading it as Elephant Butt. And so I had to look up, and there's it's a real place in New Mexico. It's a crazy name.
Yeah. And the Doctor sends Ace and Benny to deal with the warheads while he and Davison return to White Sands. And also with Major Davison, I kept picturing the Fifth Doctor. Even though she was an interesting character. I felt like she had a lot of good development and stuff.
Yeah.
But Ace and Benny steal a Hercules transport, but the landing gears snap away from the aircraft because Stoker tries to have the runway blocked with another plane, which Ace promptly plows through.
It's a great sequence, that, isn't it?
It's almost like out of a Bond film again. There's a few of those set pieces.
Yeah. Well, McIntee likes his Bond. There's often a lot of references. Quite a few of his books do tend to be Bond movies on paper.
And as Ace ponders how to land the craft safely, as they're making their way to Washington, D.C., Benny discovers that the transport is filled with crates carrying Tizun disruptors. And apparently Nybe believes that his allies intend to supply America with advanced weaponry with which to win the Cold War. And Ace manages to convince the air traffic controllers at Washington's National Airport that she requires emergency runway clearance and crashes the plane. And then her and Benny are able to walk away from the plane crash thanks to some deft piloting by Ace. And she and Benny flee as the plane goes up in flames behind them, which destroys the Tizun disruptors.
Also, don't they say, "Oh, it's the 50s, we can get away with it," or something like that? Because I was certainly thinking, wow, you tried landing something at an airport nowadays without clearance. Whoa.
A couple of other just quick items that have come up by this point.
Yep.
The Seventh Doctor is using a sonic screwdriver in this story, and it turns out that it's the alternate universe's Third Doctor's sonic from Bloodheat.
Yes.
Are they still using the alternate TARDIS at this time as well from that story?
I think so, yes. Yeah.
Makes sense. And then the Doctor refers to the White Sands as reminding him of the Gobi Desert, which might be a reference to Marco Polo. And he also there's a reference, I think, on page 54 to Dimensions in Time, where the Doctor says he once had a nightmare where a bunch of old foes chased him around a soap opera.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Oh, yeah, okay, yes, yeah, okay. Right, so Creer and Stoker return to White Sands, where Finney is becoming suspicious and eavesdrops on them and discovers that they've been consorting with aliens. Shocking. And they in turn catch him and implant him with an electronic control to prevent him from acting against them. And Major Davison and the Doctor return, and she discovers kind of like what's happened to Finney, and she's got no choice but to take command.
She's kind of like a press officer too, where she was promoted due to like an accident. So this is like the first time in American history that a base is under the command of like a woman, which has its own ripples and repercussions in the story.
Yeah, it does make me wonder when the first time that happened in real life.
Yeah, I wonder.
And also, something sad inside me wonders, has it?
Good question on both counts.
Yes. So anyway, Major Davison is then invited by the producer of a local TV program to appear on a round panel discussing UFO sighting and alien abductions. But Stoker prevents the broadcast from taking place, claiming that it would compromise national security. And the Doctor sees all of this and questions one of the panellists, a guy called Robert Agar, who claims to have been given a message of universal brotherhood by the peaceful inhabitants of Venus. But in fact, Agar was contacted by one of the Zun, the Grey Zun in particular.
Yeah, part of that disinformation campaign that they're kind of waging there.
Yes.
So at this point, the Soviets launch Sputnik again, and the Tizun, identifying it as a primitive transmitter only, choose not to draw attention to themselves by shooting it down because they have their mothership in orbit, which resembles like a dagger or a knife.
Yeah.
And Nyby is furious when he learns this and realizes that he can no longer trust his alien allies. And meanwhile, the Doctor learns that the saucer sightings started about 5 months ago, which would place them just after May Day. And he's always wondered why the Russians didn't launch Sputnik on their national holiday, and now he suspects that this indeed did occur, but that the first Sputnik was hijacked by an alien intelligence, who then used it to summon the Tizun to Earth. And the Soviets, embarrassed by their perceived failure, had erased it from their records, and then claimed that this second successful launch was in fact the first. And a part of me wonders if that's like David McIntee's author speculation there around the launch of Sputnik, generally too.
I think it is, isn't it? Because like you're reading it, you think, I guess that makes sense. And as we are being reminded, the Russians are not necessarily sources of accurate information. As we're being told in real life. Right, okay. Should be back to the book on this more solid ground. Ace and Benny work out that Zun have hidden one of their warheads beneath the Washington Monument. As you do. So it's guarded by kind of like the blonde Zun, but Ace and Benny kind of like together manage to hold him off and defuse the warhead. And the Zun flee when human police arrive on the scene. And Ace surrenders to give Benny the chance to follow the fleeing Zun back to their base, which turns out to be the naval destroyer Jessup, which is moored at Naval Research Laboratories. So Benny boards the ship, and it's about here that we get to the section that is our reading for this month. And this is read for us by William Wanders III. Let's have a listen.
Benny bent to the lock, trying to peer through the keyhole, but the interior of the cabin was pitch black. Pulling out a small dental scraper she normally used for scraping soft rock away from delicate fossils, she knelt in front of the door. With extreme delicacy, she inserted the scraper into the lock and started to feel around gingerly for the barrel. Abruptly, a dull blur appeared in front of her eyes with a metallic rattle. It was naturally a set of keys, and she didn't need the doctor's foresight to know that one of them would be for this door. Telling herself resignedly that it wasn't as if she shouldn't have gotten used to this sort of thing by now, she straightened slowly. Turning, she found an Air Force officer major nodding understandingly. There can't be too many Air Force majors wandering around with alien friends and stolen warheads, she commented. You are Major Creer, I presume. I am many things, Creer acknowledged. He gestured with a stubby black device in his gloved hand. It looked to Benny like a weapon or a sex toy, and she didn't think even he would consider this a proper time or place. He held the weapon steadily. Take me to your leader. Benny raised her hands. I don't believe that should be necessary. I'm already here. Miss Summerfield. Bernice Summerfield. My friends call me Benny, but you can call me Professor Summerfield. Bernice Summerfield? Creer looked surprised. That's why your face was familiar. Ignoring her look of astonishment, he leaned carefully past her and unlocked the door. Your parlor, I presume? Creer indicated that she should enter, and there didn't seem to be much choice. She turned the handle and pushed. The room beyond was filled from deck to ceiling with instruments that were clearly of local design and manufacture, reconfigured into bizarre, anachronistic networks. She recognized a few pieces of the Tzun technology forming the central nodes of several linkages. A medium-sized black cat watched her impassively through the luminescent eyes. Are all the white ones copyrighted? Benny asked, nodding towards it. Strangest of all was some sort of iconic style fluted sandstone column, which was totally out of place in the cabin of a destroyer. The weapon never wavering from Benny's midriff, Creer ran a hand along the weathered stone, his face displaying such satisfaction that she half expected him to light a cigarette, like in the old movies. Sometimes even time isn't such a successful thief after all, he murmured to himself. Even with this primitive equipment, the Stantonheim remote control principle works perfectly. He turned back to Benny. I believe that the usual parlance in this era would be, what is a respected archaeologist like you doing in a place like this? Do you know me? Benny demanded. Only by reputation, he answered smoothly. I read your paper on the foundations of the Martian feudalism. Nice to know I have some satisfied customers. She smiled uncertainly. How could he have possibly have read her work, which wouldn't be published for over half a millennium? A nasty suspicion was forming in her mind. Your conclusions were all wrong, of course, he added snidely, but not by as much as I might have expected from a human. What? Professional outrage thrummed in Benny's muscles, and she almost took a step forwards, regardless of the strange weapon. How could a 20th century Air Force officer have heard of me? Just who are you, really? Hasn't the doctor told you about me? Creer tut-tutted softly. He always did have a shaky grasp of the important issues. His ferrous smile exposed pointed teeth amidst the neatly trimmed beard. I am known as the Master, he announced simply, then smiled to himself. Universally.
Thanks, William, for reading that.
Yeah, thank you, William. And a fantastic reading and a fantastic twist. So what did you...
We learned that Major Creer is the Master.
Yes.
So this twist, I had read the book before, so I saw it coming. But for a time, I was kind of second-guessing myself, and I was wondering, is Major Creer the Master, or is Stoker the Master? And this was more earlier on, because, Stoker invokes, like, Dracula sort of thinking. So, with that connection, my mind went there a little bit. But it was kind of telegraphed a little bit on the back of the book. because let me find the...
Well, it's also telegraphed fairly early on in the book itself, because there's something about, I don't know, like two hearts, and because there's that sort of section in italics, and I think, is it even before the prologue?
Yeah, and on the back cover it says, the Army's mysterious scientific advisor, the enigmatic Major Creer. That made me think like, oh, it's either, going to be the third Doctor posing as the scientific advisor, or it's probably going to be the Master. Were you surprised at all, or...
Well, so I was spoilt. Like, the first time I read it, I'd stopped somewhere in New Mexico. Because I was finding McIntee's style to be very adject heavy and a bit of a slog. I remember that as a kid. I think I've got more tolerant to it, but I mean, I don't think it's not quite as readable as he gets later. I mean, I think his style, his writing style, gets more to my taste as he goes on. But the thing that did surprise me was that this is the Anthony Ainley version.
Yes, that did surprise me as well, because I was picturing, because this master's often referred to as like the Basil Rathbone master, and it wasn't until an additional twist later on, which I had completely forgotten about, that I had to like go back and like mentally reevaluate. Okay, up until a certain point, it was the Ainley master, or perhaps the Gordon Tipple master. Although Ace does recognize him.
Yeah, we'll get onto. I think we'll get onto that bit about how Ace recognizes him, which I thought was quite clever. But I mean, I was kind of thinking that he'd have had to have had a very convincing American accent, and it would have had to have been one of his more convincing disguises, because that incarnation of the Master, his disguises are fairly transparent, aren't they?
Yep. And this is the first published work to feature the Master post-survival. And later stories would contradict First Frontier, because the Master's still infected by the cheetah virus in both Housewarming and Primetime.
Yeah.
And is returned to his crispy incarnation prior to Tremis in Dust Breeding.
Yeah. So try and work out Master continuity. But so the Master locks up Benny, then takes a moment to inject himself with the nanites, which the Zun have been preparing for him. And they restructure his genetic code, so he's now once more a pure-blooded Time Lord with a full cycle of regenerations. And so, like, he's no longer, this Traconite and, like, contaminated with the cheetah planet stuff.
And the new nanites aren't super effective, because by the time he shows up in Happy Endings, he's trying to make himself a new body again using the loom of Rassilon's mouse. So
yeah, well, it's a wedding. You got to do crazy stuff at a wedding. What the Sun do not realise is that the Master has been using their technology to build a Statenheim remote control and summon his TARDIS to Earth. And the Sun have now outlived their usefulness. And he thus kills the two blonde Zun who were to take the second warhead to Moscow, and replaces them with two hypnotised human pilots who will not deviate from their course for any reason.
Both the Doctor and Ace have been getting feelings that something's not right, and like the Doctor's has like an uneasy feeling, and it's related to the Master's proximity. But he said it's the same sort of feeling he got with the gods of Ragnarok and the Psychic Circus, as well as the Daleks. And I was surprised that the Daleks even got a mention, which is pretty rare during this era.
Well, I mean, like, Benny often talks about, because like the Daleks play a key part in her backstory. It's just you don't see them, but they do. But like they're able to use Daleks as a term. You just can't see them being featured.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. And then, of course, the Master and Ace can detect each other because they're both kind of infected with the cheetah virus.
Yeah.
So then Ace is then interrogated by FBI agent Joe Manco. Just quite the name. But she uses the Doctor's CIA connections to convince him that they're on the same side. And Manco has been investigating Major Creer for some time. And when he shows Ace a photograph of Creer, she recognizes him instantly, in the Anthony Ainley incarnation. And aware that Creer has been spending a lot of time on the Jessup, Manco leads Ace to the ship to search for her missing friend. And they both board the naval ship just as it's leaving port. And there's a whole sequence where Joe Manco and Ace, when they're trying to board, they're like dangling off of a bridge, suspended by a rope, waiting for the ship to pass underneath them. So that was kind of like you said, like a James Bond-esque sequence there.
Yeah.
And Manco tries to arrest the Master, but the Master kills him with his tissue compression eliminator. And in a fit of rage, Ace shoots the Master through the chest as he's fleeing to his TARDIS. And she's also able to resist his hypnosis, as part of that. And he had previously tried to hypnotize Benny as well, but she fortunately was also immune. But the Tizun nanites have done their work, and once inside his TARDIS, the Master successfully regenerates. And this is where the Basil Rathbone incarnation, based on the adventures of Robin Hood, comes in terms of what his appearance looks like.
Yeah, and also, if like me, you've not seen The Adventures of Robin Hood, if you are able to picture the cover of All Encompassing Fire, the Sherlock Holmes story, like the New Adventures, the version of Sherlock Holmes that's on that cover is the Basil Rathbone one.
Mm-hmm. And we have a little bit of additional info from Paul Scoons from his time-space visualizer. He said that it was McIntee's idea to include the Master, but at first McIntee wanted to show the last Delgado Master story, and he was instructed that the appearance had to follow on from how the Master appeared in Survival. But then with some additional persuasion by Gary Russell, they managed to persuade Virgin to allow the Master to be regenerated. And it was McIntee's idea to keep the Master's involvement a surprise because Virgin had wanted to put him on the cover of the book. And the Master's alias here is an in-joke because Roger Delgado played a character called Creer, who was a malevolent hypnotist in an episode of The Avengers.
Okay, because I was Googling as to what Creer meant, and it means to believe. I think it's in a Spanish dialect. Yeah, it's an Old Spanish.
So it works on two levels there.
Yes, it works on two levels. It also means to create in Old Norse.
That makes me wonder if it's like an after-the-fact thing, like how Dalek means a far and distant thing in Serbo-Croat.
Yeah, possibly. Though, I mean, going back to like having the Master on the cover, I think I'd have been more inclined. I think my teenage self would have carried on reading, knowing that the Master was in it. But I think it probably is the right call to have it as a surprise.
And we wouldn't have gotten the really cool cover with Ace then, too.
No.
And the UFO sticking out of the ground.
Yeah. I read a review in which someone said it was one of the worst New Adventures covers. I was like, sir, you have not seen quite a few of the others. This is not a range blessed with amazing covers, and this is definitely one of the better ones. It's recognisably the person it's supposed to be, for starters.
In one of the opening prologues, you mentioned, the reference to Two Hearts.
Yes.
And the opening about someone escaping burning. And at first I wondered if it was about how the Master survived his burning in Planet of Fire. Yeah, I was very surprised when Ace shot the Master at the end. I did not see that coming and had forgotten that important detail when I had first read the book in the mid-90s. And it seems also that the Master was undergoing a new series style regeneration because the description is, as if he were undergoing spontaneous combustion, dull fiery embers lit the ravaged Time Lord's contorted face.
Yeah, it does feel very new series, doesn't it? Because also as well, I don't think we're told he's lying on the floor.
No, I think he regenerates standing up, which is also a first,
Yeah.
So with him regenerating, this means that no one recognizes him when he returns to Corman Air Force Base. But this isn't really a major concern to him because he just hypnotizes the few soldiers who do pose a threat. And since Nyby and his men are no longer required, the Tizun turn on them and lock them up to await the war, which will soon break out. So that was nice of the Tizun not to just outright kill them. Meanwhile, Ace and Benny fight their way off the Jessup. When Ace shoots a pile of Tizun disruptors as a distraction, the fire spreads, causing the ship to explode moments after they leap into the river.
Back in the Elephant Butte, as he says, the Doctor convinces the director of the station there that they're about to be attacked by rogue American military officers using experimental new plane, and the director, a guy called Andrews, allows the Doctor to rewire the power grid to generate an EMP, so which is an electromagnetic pulse. And he's startled, is Andrews, when this causes an alien spaceship to appear from thin air and crash nearby. Yeah, that would startle me too. And the Doctor finds to his sorrow that the crew of this ship have killed themselves rather than allow the humans to capture them. Nevertheless, he manages to pilot this ship, this crash ship, into orbit to contact the leaders of the invasion force. And he goes on to this kind of like mile-long Stormblade mothership very much picturing kind of like a destroyer from Star Wars. And the Doctor meets Councillor Shakal, I think, who reveals that the Master called the Zun to Earth because he needed their help to escape and also to kind of like cure his genetic issues. The Zor, the blonde Zun, have been contacting individual humans with a message of universal brotherhood, whilst the Master has been arranging to detonate nuclear warheads in Washington and Moscow. And this will wipe out the planet's two most powerful governments and trigger a nuclear exchange, which the Zun intend to stop, believing the humans will welcome their saviours with open arms.
That's a pretty good plan, I have to say.
It is a good plan, yeah.
A little bit reminiscent of Ozymandias' plan in Watchmen as well.
Yes.
Kind of this external threat that's manufactured and then...
Maybe this is what's happening there.
We also get the Master saying that part of his deal with the Tizun was to get transport off Earth, but he's kind of backtracking on that bit of it because he really just needed their help to be able to build the Statenheim remote control, which was mentioned in both Mark of the Rani and the Two Doctors as, something that can summon a TARDIS. And in terms of how he got to Earth in the first place, he has a cat named Shadow, which is a Kitling left over from the Cheetah world, and the Kitling Shadow is the creature that had taken him from the Cheetah world back to 1950s America, slipping backwards through time a little bit farther than the Master had originally intended to go.
Yeah. Now, I didn't need all that explanation. All I just needed to know was he's here in the 50s for all of it. But the more detail they went into, the less convincing I found it.
Okay. The Doctor doesn't learn of the Master's involvement through like a direct confrontation. Like the alien leader that he's talking to, this counselor, just kind of mentions offhandedly, "Oh, the Master's been helping us." Yeah. And the Doctor's like, "What?" And I just wish, it's such a cavalier conversation. And I wish it had been, the Master revealing that to the Doctor directly, even if it was like by video link or something in that scene. I thought that was a little bit of a missed opportunity there in terms of how they could play that scene for some additional dramatic moment. Thinking about like the scene of like the Doctor confronting Davros from Remembrance, and maybe have something like that.
I quite like the anticlimacticness of it, or just the whole kind of like in passing. And the Master, the Master. Because like in real life, not that anything of this is realistic, but you might suddenly kind of get someone mentioning in passing, "Oh yeah, we're dealing with blah blah blah." I go, "Oh."
So the Doctor reveals that the Masters imposed press blackouts and discredited the Tizun's contactees as part of their disinformation campaign. So the message of peace hadn't reached the human race, and their arrival could be greeted with fear and suspicion. And humanity may even blame them for the nuclear exchange and entrench themselves on Earth in a state of xenophobic shock from which they may never recover. And the Tizun investigate this and determine that the Doctor's telling the truth, and the Master has been double-crossing them. And much to the Doctor's surprise, and mine, they're like, "Oh, well, the Master beat us here," and they decide that they're going to give up the Earth as a lost cause and depart in peace. And I thought that was a sensible and reasonable retreat by the Tizun, and it was very refreshing.
Yes. And because they also have like economic reasons, don't they? They're kind of like, well, this isn't worth us spending our resources on this. And it's just like, yeah, fine, we'll go to somewhere else.
And as they prepare to leave, they transport the Doctor back to Corman Air Force Base to deal with the Master, and also transmat both Ace and Benny directly there from Washington to help him. And Stoker is ordered to arrest the Master, but then the Master reminds him of the photograph he saw earlier and reveals that Stoker is a flawed first-generation Tizun clone, grown from cloned human tissue and subject to inappropriate emotional outbursts. So that's why Stoker was feeling so conflicted and had like missing memories and stuff, is because he was freshly grown. And the Master claims that his fellow Tizun intended to dispose of him and his fellow Tizun hybrids once their purpose had been served. But if Stoker helps the Master, he can then bring a new vitality to the Tizun Confederacy. And Stoker decides to throw his lot in with the Master, so he and some of the other human Tizun hybrids turn on the other Tizun who remain loyal to kind of the Greys and the pure-blooded Tizun.
Benny, meanwhile, releases Nybe and his men, and they begin to kill all aliens in the vicinity, regardless of their allegiance. Yeah, it's getting quite grim. In the confusion, Ace tracks down the Master again, but he takes her gun and gives it to the Doctor, challenging the Doctor to shoot him through the heart and end his life. The Doctor is unable to do so, but he and Ace escape before the Master can kill them both. Or at least they think that they've escaped, because in fact the Master has allowed them to escape. And the Doctor goes to a telemetry unit that guides Sun ships through the various gravimetric disturbances in the Earth's atmosphere, and he shuts down this telemetry unit just as the Master had planned, and the Doctor has now outlived his usefulness. However, the Master hadn't figured Benny into his plans, and she rescues the Doctor and Ace as the Master sends a Zun to kill them. And the Doctor then takes his companions back to the TARDIS to track down the plane, taking the second warhead to Moscow.
And I really liked the scene where the Doctor and the Master meet, in this incarnation for the first time. That confrontation, it was a long time coming. Because they were kept very much apart, throughout the entire book until that climactic scene. And the conversation between the two of them was just superb, just very chilling. And there were parts, where the Master's handing the Doctor a gun that they felt like they were later echoed in The Sound of Drums.
Yeah.
And on the Valiant. So, yeah, that was quite a cool sequence to experience.
I wonder, I tried to remember when the movie Heat was released. There's a slight touch in Heat, isn't there, of how Al Pacino and Robert De Niro are kept apart throughout the movie until kind of like the end. Yeah, because it is magical, that scene, isn't it?
So then Stoker realizes too late that the Master, while telling the truth about his genetic heritage, had lied about the Tizun's intentions. In fact, they intended to correct the genetic defects in Stoker's kind rather than simply killing them. By now, however, Stoker's rebellion had caused enough chaos to serve the Master's purpose, and then the Master therefore kills him and launches one of the evacuation saucers on remote control. But due to the loss of the telemetry unit, the Tizun see nothing unusual about the empty saucer's flight path and allow it to dock with the Stormblade. And as soon as it's on board, the Master releases the antimatter containment field, causing a chain reaction which destroys the Stormblade and all of the thousands of Tizun aboard. But before departing, the Master contacts the Doctor to tell him what he's done and kind of gloat a little bit, and then the horrified Doctor realizes that the Master simply lured the Tizun here in the first place to provide him with both a cure for his genetic disorder and the parts to be able to summon his own TARDIS, and then disposed them as if they were nothing more than tools that have outlived their usefulness. So quite the Master gloating scene there.
Yes. The Doctor locates the American plane as it enters Soviet airspace, though the Master has kind of booby-trapped the second warhead, and if the TARDIS materializes around it, it will explode immediately. To save the Earth, it seems like the Doctor might have to sacrifice his TARDIS, but instead he manages to modify a Zun disruptor that Ace had taken from one of her attackers, and uses it to disintegrate the warhead without touching it. So this is when they're on board the plane. And he, Ace and Benny then get the plane's hypnotised pilots into the TARDIS and flee, moments before the plane shot down for, going into Soviet airspace. And so the Doctor returns the pilots to White Sands, where Finney is recovering from his ordeal. Major Marion Davison, she's led a team to Corman Air Force Base and has arrested Nybe for conspiring with unallied forces, which is one way of putting it. And there are apparently no more Zun on Earth. And Ace chooses not to mention that tricking an alien species into attempting to invade another world in order to plant a trap and dispose of them, which is what the Master's done, is something that the Doctor has been known to do himself on occasion.
Yeah, and there we have it.
Yeah, there we have it. First Frontier.
And McIntee has said in an interview that, in a way, the Master is the hero of the story because the Tizun leave the Earth voluntarily but vow to return, and then the Master destroys them in the same way that the Doctor destroys the Daleks in remembrance of the Daleks. I can see that.
But he's also led them to Earth in the first place.
Yeah.
But then again, so's the Doctor in remembrance.
with the hand of Omega, which they're looking for. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, not intentionally, whereas the Master has intentionally. So I don't think I can see him as the hero, but I see what you mean. It's an interesting parallel. But yeah, so what did you make of this?
For the most part, I really enjoyed it. I get the criticism about how detailed everything is, especially the descriptions, but
Yes.
that doesn't bother me so much. One of my favorite authors growing up was Anne Rice.
Okay, yeah.
She spends 5 to 6 pages describing a room before the scene's starting. So,
Yeah.
but I can see where it is a lot of detail.
Yes.
So maybe that might have influenced what you thought of it. I don't know.
Yeah. So there's one sentence it's talking about like the dark night side of Earth, and it describes as occulting the diamond scattered sea of stars beyond. I'm like, occulting? Okay. Yeah, we do often reach into some interesting adjectives. And also there's a few outdated metaphors, or at least ones that will not be used nowadays.
Yeah, in terms of descriptors,
yes.
and especially
Yeah.
racial descriptors.
Yes, yeah. And it's like, go, ooh, yeah.
Yeah, there were a handful of those where it's like,
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah, and that's from the narration. It's not from anybody's point of view. It's from the authorial point of view. That's how it seems. They're like, okay, yeah, we wouldn't say that now. Yeah. To the point where I don't want to read them. So,
Yeah. I was impressed with McIntee's level of research in terms of, you could tell he's researched the layout of these Air Force bases and the stuff in Washington, and just the lack of anachronistic things and lack of cultural mistakes. So there's no accidental chips being called crisps or cookies and biscuits or bonnet versus hood of a car. Like all of that was very accurate.
and this is in a pre-internet age, pretty much. Yeah, so he has done an amazing job of world building here.
One criticism I had about it, and it sounds like I may have liked it a little more than you did, but
I think you did, yeah.
I will say there are too many characters to keep track of. There's something like 20 plus different characters, different majors and sergeants, and also both within the American military, but then you have in the Tizun Confederacy a whole bunch of different people that are named, and that was a lot to keep track of. And then the structure of the book, there's so much spent in terms of avoiding, the Master avoiding meeting the Doctor. So we're, at least for the first half of the book, for me, it felt like a bit of a runaround where not a whole lot was happening. You'd go from Air Force Base to Air Force Base and then drive back. And that did lend itself to a lot of character moments and a lot of that kind of what I'd call slow travel, whether it's by car in the convertible or Ace and Benny stealing the plane and taking it out to the East Coast. That was a little bit disappointing, I guess.
Yeah, so the action sequences, when we get them, are terrific. I mean, I don't think they're necessarily realistic, but I mean, they are good fun to read. And also, you get the sense he's plotted them out. Yeah, and they really do work. But yeah, there's a bit of stuff that you have to slog through to get to it. So when we were saying about the convertible, on a very personal note, I love the fact that it was a Plymouth car that was driving. Because my dad was from Plymouth. We used to, when we were living in the Middle East, we used to drive a Plymouth, which made me think that every English town had like a car named after it. Because I knew there was a Lincoln. I knew a Lincoln was a type of car, and I also knew Lincoln was a place. So, I expected people to rock up in a Birmingham or a Manchester. So, yeah.
And even though it felt like the Doctor took like a back seat in parts, I was very pleased that Ace and Benny were paired together and had a lot of scenes with each other, especially in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So that I very much liked. And there's some good discussion about like the companion's morality. So there's one point where Ace tells Joe Manco, the FBI guy, to shoot the Master on sight. And that was, just a little chilling and reflects Ace's values post-Dalek War. And then later on, Benny's taking out a couple of Tizun guards. It's referenced that she's not caring to bother or check whether her disruptor's set on stun, because at this point she's just like fed up with them.
You also have Ace reflecting upon the burdens of leadership. As well.
That whole sequence,
and the fact that her actions lead directly to Joe Manco's death. Yeah, there are interesting things. I just wish I'd liked it overall more. I do wonder whether, if you don't have the Master in this story, would it be improved? I think it might.
Yeah, I don't know. he's so integral to everything that happens.
Yeah,
and the scenes with like him confronting the doctor, like those were highlights of the story for me. So
yeah, I guess. I mean, I enjoyed the master sequences. Don't get me wrong. I think I could have spent more time with Zun finding out more about that, or maybe we just find enough that I still have questions and that I'm not bored by it. I don't know.
Yeah, because McIntee, if you went that direction, he could have very much expanded like the random people that were getting abducted, and that whole more X-Files angle was just kind of like that. Almost seemed like an extra plot line that wasn't needed.
Yeah, because I could have done with more time with some of the characters, because as you've said, there's a lot of people in this novel. And for me, it makes it feel more like an action movie where you've got a lot of characters who are fairly expendable. And it doesn't, because like often with some of the new adventures, you would spend more time with the characters and you'd get a sense of them more. And I don't think I quite got that. I mean, like, apart from like Major Davison.
I did like the line where Major Davison wishes the doctor good luck, and the doctor says, "I make my own." It felt very James Bond-esque.
Yes.
But also it rang true for the Seventh Doctor because he's such a planner.
Yes.
But yeah, another criticism I had, it did feel like there were multiple endings. Like, they could have ended it after the Master regenerated, but I'm glad that the Doctor and the Master had that final confrontation, but it did seem like there were a couple of follow-on endings from there. Like, it didn't know where a good place to end was.
Yeah.
And then I kind of wish we had gotten a follow-up adventure with the Fourth Doctor meeting the Tizun, which is alluded to at a few different places.
Yes.
Almost like as if David McIntee was setting himself up to like, oh, I can write this missing adventure down the line, but it never materialized.
Yeah, it's interesting that we never see this Master again, I don't think, or unless we see him in a short story or something maybe.
Yeah, just one time in a short story, same author, David McIntee, in the second Decalogue book is the only other place that this Master shows up.
Okay.
Although I do kind of wonder if, and I haven't heard any of his audios, but the Big Finish Master, as played by Alex McQueen, I don't know if that's meant to be a different incarnation entirely or what the deal is there. Yeah, so if I had to score this one...
Yes, which you do.
I do. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
For me, there were some great set pieces, an interesting storyline evoking the era, with a dash of like Mars attacks.
Yeah.
Plenty to do for Ace and Benny, and some great Doctor and Master moments. Some good introspection from Ace, maybe at the expense of Benny being slightly underserved.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, I wish they had made it out to the Pueblo dig site for a bit, because, the narration meandered enough in the first half of the novel to allow for that.
Yes.
And it would have given her a little bit more time to shine, with her skill set.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'll give it a 7. You've talked me into a 7. I was going to give a 6.
Okay.
But just because I've just thought through more of like some of the interesting character moments and contrasts. So I think it's a clever book at times. I just don't think it grabs me necessarily. But I will remember the action sequences, which suggests that it grabs me. It just didn't get its hooks into me. But I mean, I have read other McIntee, which I very much enjoyed.
Kind of a transitional novel where he's still finding his narrative voice, I think.
Because I've also read his Wang Chiang book, but I'm slightly nervous to pick that.
It may not have held up as well.
It might have held up just as well as the TV story it's a sequel to.
Yeah. Well, that's First Frontier.
It is.
It's one that you've now finished after all these years.
It is.
So if nothing else, there's that. And
yes.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed it. And yeah, if you don't mind very verbose narration and descriptions of rooms, there's a lot of blue paint being described on the walls.
Yeah.
If you don't mind that, I think you'll enjoy this. For like a different take on the same time period, a decade earlier involving the crash at Roswell, there's the animated Doctor Who Dreamland by Phil Ford, with the 10th Doctor.
Yeah.
But shall we move on to listener feedback?
Yes, let's.
All right, so we have an email from the Irredeemable Shag from the Fire and Water Podcast Network regarding Dreams of Empire. He writes that he enjoyed our coverage and always an extra special treat to listen when he's actually read the book. And he felt that Justin Richards captured the TARDIS team quite well, and he could hear the actors delivering the dialogue, and he thought that the Base Under Siege format was fitting for the Troughton era. He does say that he liked the intro prologue quite a bit more than we did, and he thought that Richards accomplished quite a bit of world building in just a few pages, which helped Shag get invested in that culture. Mm-hmm. And he thought the only downfall was that General Kruger's eventual kind of shocking reveal was telegraphed very early in the book. He also thought that the Verac robots weren't Troughton period appropriate, but added an interesting addition to the story. And like us, he got the vibe of toasters from the Battlestar Galactica reimagining. And then he also comments on its selection as a pick for the 50th. And he says, Chris, that you nailed it, and that he doesn't think that there were a lot of fan favorite Troughton past Doctor novels. And he thought they should have really reprinted the Roundheads, which he thought was the best Troughton original fiction he's read. Mm-hmm. And that he also thought that The Dark Path wouldn't work for a reprint because there's too much continuity that would make it inaccessible. And he also says that McIntee is a bit of a dense read, and he should know because his first new adventure was White Darkness. So...
Yeah.
And he looks forward to our thoughts about First Frontier, which he says he enjoyed reading himself, and thanks us for another excellent episode. Looking forward to the next one.
Brilliant.
And that's from Shag from the Once Upon a Geek podcast and the Fire and Water Podcast Network. Yeah. So thanks, Shag.
On Facebook, we've heard from Van Turner, who said about Dreams of Empire that he'd read this early last year, but forgotten that he had. And his comments are that Justin Richards hit the characterizations of the Second Doctor, Jamie McCrimmon, and Victoria all spot on. And the book was a slow burn with a flash fire ending, or maybe it was a dumpster fire. Like the world building was superb, and the characters within the world stayed true to themselves. Nobody did anything out of character. But he had a difficult time following the plot of the story to the point where he had to wonder if there was a plot. And he said that he usually likes Justin Richards' writing, but Dreams of Empire had left him puzzled and disappointed. And he's sure that the ending was supposed to be a plot twist, but the reintroduction of a character only briefly mentioned early in the book doesn't work for him. And so he can't recommend for good storytelling, but it shines in world building. And yeah, I echo quite a few of those things. I think I enjoyed it a bit more than Van did, but yeah, certainly this character all along who was mentioned briefly in the start. Yeah. You can't do that.
So thanks, Van, for those comments. And
yes,
listeners, please write in with your thoughts about First Frontier or any of the other books we've covered, and we'd be happy to read those out.
Yes.
You can drop us a note on Facebook or email us at andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. And also, just a reminder to please leave us a rating or review on your podcatcher of choice. It helps other listeners find us.
Mm-hmm. What about on Twitter?
On the Twitter side, we heard from Matt Phillips, who thanked us for another excellent episode for Dreams of Empire. We've heard from Books of Who, aka Doctor Who Book Reviews on Twitter, and they say they just bought Dreams of Empire to join in with the book club this month, and they're looking forward to reading it and hearing everyone's thoughts on it. And then Jason from Doctor Who Novels on Twitter writes, I remember Dreams of Empire being very good. Justin Richards is a witty writer with intricate plots. And then longtime listener Keith Say, 50TW50 on Twitter, thanked us for the Dreams of Empire podcast episode and says, excellent discussion as always. So that is our feedback.
That's nice.
So Chris, next month it is your pick.
It is.
Are you going to be out for revenge after I picked up First Frontier?
Well, so I thought that I'd want us to spend time with a TARDIS crew that I think we've both enjoyed, but we haven't actually read any of the books. And bear in mind, we've been going now for quite some time. It is quite rare to find a TARDIS crew that we haven't read. And it's by an author who we have read before and we both very much enjoyed, though it's a title that we have mentioned a few times. So it's time, Matt. It's time to take you to Plague City.
Oh... is that the...
That's 12th Doctor, Nardole, and Bill. And it's by Jonathan Morris.
All right.
So,
well.
and it's available on ebooks, and so, yeah.
Interesting. Well, now we'll be able to compare the precautions or responses that happen in the city in the novel with...
well, the city of the novel is Edinburgh, which is one of my favourite places. So,
excellent.
if you are going to do something slightly gothic, which I imagine a plague book might be, Edinburgh, I think, is as good a place as any to do it. So,
yeah, and we haven't experienced that TARDIS team at all, have we?
We have not, no. And in fact, that TARDIS team formed after we started the show.
Huh.
Or at least it did on telly, didn't it? So,
yeah. Very much looking forward to that, and enjoyed Touched by an Angel, which was the previous Jonathan Morris book we read.
Yes.
Exciting.
We're doing it, Matt. We're taking to Plague City. Lauren is coming back from Chilicon, complete with a plague doctor that she purchased. Kind of like a cuddly one. Huh. This is bubonic plague kind of time. It says that on the blurb, so I don't think that's a spoiler.
For some reason, I was thinking it was set in a future city.
Yeah, I thought it was as well, but it's not. It's set in Aldriki herself. Edinburgh.
So I was right when I said he'll be out for revenge.
Yeah, there's my master cackle. I did have a standby in case you said no, I'm not doing a book about the plague.
No, I've got my PPE ready to go, and I'm gonna suit up and head on in.
Yes.
So until next month, this has been Matt in Minnesota,
Chris in South London. Happy reading and stay safe.
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song Doctor Who Theme Swing Jazz Version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. Help other listeners to find us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
I would quite happily go again to just experience other bits of the middle, but only if there were people that were going with me, kind of thing. Yeah, because I was home alone yesterday, and I go oh, do I go in or I'm knackered.
Couple of bits that I've heard is that don't talk to the guy who's dressed as a pig man from Evolution of the Daleks because he'll monopolize your entire time.
Yes.
And then I've also heard the Davros thing that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Cybermen also show up.
Yes, they do. And Sontarans are mentioned. We didn't see any. Though I think we probably went in the right place for Lauren. Because she saw Leonardo da Vinci, she saw some bloke from Torchwood, and she got married to Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, yeah.
And the Queen Elizabeth performer was brilliant. So
was she more so younger Queen Elizabeth that we saw in the 50th?
Yes, it wasn't like Judi Dench.
Because she showed up at the end of Shakespeare Code, where she is really mad at the Doctor. And
yes, yeah, definitely the younger one.
Okay.
And she also had a picture of the 10th Doctor that was elsewhere in her throne room. The improvisational skills of because there were two people playing Elizabethan actors or members of the court, and they're there before Queen Elizabeth herself rocks up, and they were fantastic, riffing off everything. So they get into a little bit of a row with Elizabeth, get ideas as to what should Queen Elizabeth do next, and kind of thing. And one of them turns to me and sort of said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, Queen Elizabeth, she's quite fond of executions from what I understand. And they just look at me and don't say that. And I think it was at that point that guy then saw Lauren's dress. I go, right, okay, mate, I'm going to have fun with you.
How long was it in total? Around 90 minutes or so? Or
I think it's about 2 hours.
Okay.
When we were in the intermission and the kind of the space bar, there was just some lovely interactions as well. Because there were some people that were clearly really made up to see a Silurian. It was just cool.
Did you see any Weeping Angels or Silence?
Yes. I didn't tell you about the Weeping Angels bit. Yes, there's a Weeping Angel sequence that I think everybody goes through. Was that you're kind of walking through this room of kind of discarded mannequins. And so you're kind of thinking, oh, hello. Who are we going to see here? Then the lights start failing. And it's oh, it's okay. I've got a flashlight. And suddenly there are weeping angels moving in the room with you.
Oh, that would be freaky.
And they're advancing on you. And there was also, at one point, me and this lass called Emily, we were asked by a Time Lord who was guiding us through this general bit. So this is after the bar, to be at the back and just kind of like bring up the rear. I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine. Yeah, we'll do that. And every now and again, we were spinning around just in case there was something behind us. Because we were walking through what felt like a service duct with kind of like piping along the wall. It was kind of like part of a spaceship, and it was just after we'd seen Brian the Ood's dead body. And I kind of thought, this is what it must be like being a companion. Because like we were constantly looking back and going, is there anything behind us? No. Okay. Because like Emily was clearly a super fan. Yeah, and like she was often sharing a lot of knowledge.
Brian the Ood was quite a big character in Time Lord Victorious, so like his death happening in Time Fracture is like a big deal to the folks that have been following that storyline and stuff too.
Yeah, but it just kind of like, it just gets mentioned. So there's a Time Lord who I kept on wanting called Zendaya, but it's not, but it's something like that, who steals the crown off Queen Elizabeth, and she's the time agent. And because one of the things was the Queen Elizabeth thing was happening, every now and again at a distance you'd see people running past going off on some other mission, and you'd go, what's going on over there? Okay.
I'd love to see like a set design too, and see like how it was all, I'm sure it's like all using every inch of available space. And
yes.